everyone, welcome to another episode of My Heart Ministries. My name is Dilly, and today we're going to be doing a devotion titled Prayer Infinity. Now, to start off, you're probably like, what in the world is he doing with a vehicle in the shot? Well, it's actually an awesome testimony of God's faithfulness that actually has to do with this vehicle right here. So this story begins last year, around the time of February. I was coming home from school one day, and I got into a car accident and ended up totaling my vehicle. So obviously, we were in the search for a new vehicle. This vehicle right here was actually sitting in my grandma's yard. It belonged to my Uncle Tim, but he was having some trouble with it. It was running rough. It was randomly dying and it was just in a really bad shape. And whenever he found out about my accident, which, keep in mind, I'm thankful to God that I didn't get injured. He actually, this is actually kind of a cool testimony, kind of go off topic too, is that, God's protection is always with us. Ever since I first started driving, just my friend Jacob, he would pray every single time before he would go out, just for God's protection. And just with that, I was encouraged to do the same thing. And so, I began praying that, and I just know that God's protection is always with me, because during that wreck, if that person had hit me this much more, like just a little smidge, it would have ended up hurting me. So I'm praising God for His protection. But anyways, getting back to topic, He told us that if we could fix it, we could have it, the Jimmy that was sitting in the yard there. So, of course, I got all excited about it, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And so, with that, we took it over to my house. I had Jacob come over, actually, and we cleaned it up and got it all ready. And then that first weekend came, and it actually ended up breaking down. It wouldn't start at all. My dad came home to check it out, and we couldn't figure anything out because we couldn't get it to start. So, I began to get a little discouraged. So I thought of the verse, Psalm chapter 37, verse 4, which says, "To take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." So with that, I really got encouraged to begin praying for this, because most people, when you think about praying for something, you think about praying for healing of yourself or praying for somebody else, but you never really think about praying for an object. Like, when I first thought about it, I was like, that's kind of silly, but I believe that, I serve an amazing God who can do all things. So I began just believing in that. I began to take delight in the Lord and just believe in Him that He would give me the desire of my heart, which was to have this vehicle running. So with that, I began praying, and I remember this part specifically. It was a Tuesday night. Jacob came over again to join me in prayer, and we just really got into the Spirit. Like, God's presence was just there, and it was strong. We began to pray, and the engine didn't end up starting that night, but it revved, and it got so close. Like, it hadn't even been trying before, but it got close. And so that just really encouraged me. So I went out the next night and just prayed by myself, and I remember sitting there, and I just began yelling faith, just that word, faith, faith, faith. And I was turning the key as I was saying that, and all of a sudden I felt something in my, just something inside me say, stop turning the key. So I stopped turning the key, and then I realized it was running. I was like, holy moly. So I ran inside so fast and yelled at my mom, was like, it's running, it's running. And she got freaked out. This is actually kind of a funny side story. She got freaked out because she thought I was saying somebody's chasing me. Anyways, it got running that night, and then I had it running that whole week. And I'm actually going to go ahead and show you guys a clip from that week that it was running. I was actually at my grandma's house washing it, and this was after I washed it. So then I was praying one night, and God brought me to this verse. It's in Romans chapter 12, verse 12. It says, "Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble, and keep on praying." And I want to break this up into 3 points. The first one is keep on praying. That's one of the most essential things we can do when we are believing for God to do something. Because something I've mentioned in a past video is prayer is our connection with God. Without it, we don't really have a way to really talk to Him about what we're going through or what we need. So any situation you're facing, I just encourage you, keep on praying. That's actually where this title came from, Prayer Infinity. It's just the importance of prayer. Just to kind of give you guys a little insight, it actually took a whole year of prayer for me to realize that I had the wrong attitude, which I'll go more into that here as we get further in the testimony. But I just want to encourage you of the importance of prayer. The second point is be patient in trouble. Now this point is also very important because with me personally, I believe that through this, God was working on my patience because I wasn't very patient. I was wanting it right away, and that's the kind of person I am. Like, I'm a person who doesn't really like to wait for things. I just want them to happen. So one of the most important things we can do when praying for something is believing on God's timing. Because let me tell you, God's timing is perfect. And if I had gotten it right away, I wouldn't have learned what I had. I wouldn't have got taught that valuable lesson in faith. And also, I wouldn't have had an awesome testimony as big as this to share. And the last point with this verse is rejoice in our confident hope. Now this is also very important because when we're praying for something, God doesn't want us to be upset and moping around with it. He wants us to be joyful, because whenever you're kind of upset and, down about it, that is the enemy getting a foothold on you. That is you kind of, without realizing it, not trusting in God fully to complete it, because faith is knowing that it's already done. So I just want to encourage you guys, whenever you're praying for something, be joyful about it. All right, so now getting back to the story. Several months had went by where it wasn't running. It actually got to a point where it stopped starting again, and we kept replacing part after part after part after part, and we just weren't having any luck at all. With that, I just began to get so discouraged, but then I just began to get faithful in prayer again. I just prayed over it again, and God made way for it to get to a garage for professionals to look at it, because if you look at me and you look at my dad's very smart, but I'm not. So we needed some professionals. So with that, it got to the garage. I just my hopes began to get up again, and I just began to believe and trust in God again. I was like, for so long now I've been kind of distrusting Him, but now I'm going to trust in Him fully again. So we dropped it off at the garage, and here's actually a picture of when we first dropped it off. Okay, so then a month goes by, and we didn't hear anything from the garage. So I was like, I wonder what's going on. So we went down, and I actually took a picture of this too, but this is what it looked like whenever I got there. So as you could tell, I was just a little angry. God forgive me for my anger, but I was really upset. I'm like, it has sat here for a month and you guys didn't touch it. It's still in the same spot. The tires are flat. So I really began to form this anger in my heart towards the mechanics and the garage. And with that just really allowed the enemy to get a foothold on me and discourage me in the current situation with the Jimmy. So then again, another couple months goes by, and I still have this anger towards them. They still didn't have any progress. Nothing was going on. I think they maybe replaced like one part, but didn't have any luck. So I was still pretty upset. And then one day, me and Wes were actually out driving, and I was like, "You want to go visit the Jimmy at the garage?" And he was like, "Sure." So we actually went to the garage. It was actually sitting in a different place, which was a good sign. That meant that they were working on it. And so Wes was like, let's pray for it. And Wes just said a prayer that, I hadn't even been praying. I've been praying, hey, God, basically, well, not really like that, but I was like, Father God, can you just make way for the Jimmy to run? I wasn't praying for the mechanics and that God would bless them and give them the knowledge they need and just to fix the vehicle. I was actually, just praying for myself, praying for the Jimmy. I wasn't blessing them. And with that, I believe that's why I wasn't having any luck yet. So Wes just prayed that prayer, and that night, I just got so encouraged, and I actually found this verse that night that went along with this prayer in a way. It's in Colossians chapter 3, verse 15. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. And see, with that, for all this time, I'd been so discouraged, I'd been so angry, I'd been so upset. But this verse tells us to be peaceful, be thankful. That night I just asked God, I was like, forgive me, Lord, for my anger towards the mechanics. Help me to be a blessing to them. Help me give me opportunities to share with them. Just, have conversation. Because, before I would go in there, I wouldn't really say a word other than, do you have any status updates? And so just with that, God really changed my attitude completely. I was more happy about it. I was joyful. I was really just trusting in God for this to happen. And so I went to the garage a Monday, I remember specifically again. And I went in there, and of course, they're sitting there doing whatever. And I had that complete transformation. Like before, I would walk in there and I'd be like, any updates? But this time I was like, hey guys, how's it going? And I was joking around with them, having a great time, and like I could just see the joy in their hearts, and I could tell there was something different about me when I walked in. And then the awesome thing about that is about 2 days later, I got a text from my mom while I was at school that said, the Jimmy is done. And with that, I was fighting back tears. I was in class and I'm just like, I can't be crying in school, but I was really fighting it. But it's such an awesome testimony how faithful our God is. His timing is always perfect. I can't stress that enough. And I believe that if I had continued praying like I should have, and if I had put all my trust in him and not allow that anger to get in my heart, I would have gotten it sooner. But again, I repeat, his timing is perfect. And through that, he taught me so much. He taught me how to have faith in him. He taught me how to have patience in him and how to trust in his timing. Because, while we're waiting on God, he is also waiting on us to be ready. And so, guys, I just want to encourage you guys with that testimony. Just kind of going back to the beginning of the video, whenever I showed you guys that video of how it's running then, well, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how it's running now.